Introduce myself. Here we go. Oh, here we go. My name is Kimberly Jetton. I am a nonprofit consultant specializing in planned giving. A little bit of background about me. I most recently was the executive director of the Orange Catholic Foundation for Orange County for a couple of years. And then previous to that, I was the director of planned giving for the Archdiocese of Los Angeles. And I was there for 5 years, and we did very well. We did very well in that space, and so just kind of wanting to share a little bit more about what you might be able to do as a small shop. And I really appreciate Lauren for inviting me on and sharing this time with you. So I have about a 45-minute presentation, and then we'll open it up for Q&As. And then I always avail myself after these types of presentations, if you want to, have a call or some email or what have you to kind of help with any other questions or specifics that you have to your organization. So I just want to throw that out there, that I'm always happy to help, because I was very fortunate to have people help me along the way, and I definitely want to do the same for others. Okay, so we're going to talk today about the securing the gifts through wills and trusts, and just kind of want to get kind of back to the basics of what is the future of fundraising, and are you going to be left behind? And by being on this call today, I'm assuming that you all understand that planned giving is a valuable component, but may not have the bandwidth. Is anybody here a full-time planned giving person? No. Does anybody here have a full-time planned giving person on staff? Okay. All right. You're not alone. That's the majority of the nonprofits in the United States. So, but we want to try and give you some tools maybe today that might be able to get you into that space a little bit more. So really, when we're talking about planned gifts, a lot of times people think of it of just bequests, right? And so we're going to talk a little bit today about what the differences are, and the different types of planned gifts and what that all encompasses. So planned gifts are future gifts of cash and assets, and they can also be current gifts of assets. And so that's really where you might be able to take something on that will give you immediate money in the door, because from what I understand, as being a former development director, people are more concerned not about what we're going to get in 10 years. Great, you secured a bequest, we might get that in 10 years, 20 years if they're really, really healthy. But we need money in our bank account today. And what have you done for me lately? So I'll talk a little bit about that as well. But why is it important for you to be in this space? And really what it is that we've got 78 million baby boomers who are starting to age. And of course, the baby boomers is anyone born from 1946 to 1964. And really, they are coming, they're turning 65 in just absolute record numbers. Okay, so back until the year 2000, we were having about 2,800 people a day turning 65. Starting in the year 2000, we're getting 10,000 people a day turning 65, which is just an enormous amount of folks that are helping with this aging population. Now, of course, we still have some folks in the quiet generation that will also be important for you to steward, but really the baby boomers are really going to be, again, where that's at as well. So if you are not targeting this demographic, you're doing yourself a disservice. So is anybody here trying to get millennials or Gen Z and trying to encourage them to donate, and are doing kind of outreach in those areas like text to give or anything like that? Is anybody working on that? A few of you are. Okay. This is what I would say about that. And it depends on your organizations, but for organizations like yours, I would much rather be taking time with this demographic than with the younger demographic. And, people will say, oh, but the younger demographic, the text to give, it's doubled in recent years. How many young people are giving? Yes, it went from 1% to 2%. Right? That's not where you need to be spending your time. So if you've got folks that are on your board or in your office that are saying, we really need to be engaging these younger donors, I would challenge that, because over the past 5 years, when I was in LA, I raised $110 million in gift expectancies, and nobody was under the age of 65. And also the folks that are at 65 give at, exponentially more than anybody else. So I would say, if you really want a return on your investment of time in your development strategies, you need to be taking time with those donors that are 65 and older, and then also targeting them for planned giving, because anything else, you could get a bunch of gifts from those younger folks, but it's not going to amount to much, right? They might be giving $10 and $20, whereas you work that same amount of time, but you're working with your aged donors. They're going to be sending you checks of $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. So where is the best use of your time? So I would just challenge you to kind of think about that and really look to see where your return on your investment might be for that. Okay, so in getting into that a little bit more, wealth in America. So we have $140 trillion of wealth in the United States. But of that, how much do you think is actually held in liquid cash? Any ideas? Because, these are the different sectors that we have. We've got our equities, we've got the retirement plans, real estate, which, obviously is where the majority of any individual's wealth is going to be, is in the real estate. So when we're looking at cash and cash equivalent, only 3% of the US wealth is in liquid cash. The rest of it is in assets. Okay, so when you're contacting someone for your annual fund, or you're asking for someone for a gift, and you're asking for a gift of cash, you're asking for the 3% of liquid assets that they have, expendable income. So we want to think a little bit deeper than that, because they have 97% of their assets are in something else. Okay, looks like I've got a chat. Let me see I realize I've signed. Oh, okay. So we've got somebody in here. Nancy. Hi, Nancy. Welcome. Just want to go to that. So does that make sense so far? So when we're asking for folks to donate and please send us a gift, we want to get to that 97%. Okay. So we're going into the biggest wealth transfer. You guys might have already heard this if you've been to anything that had to do with planned giving. Biggest wealth transfer beginning in 2028 in the history of the world is going to be happening within the United States, transferring from the baby boomers to their heirs. Okay, and so again, that 97% that they own is going to be transferred to their heirs. And so we're looking at $60 trillion being transferred, which is incredible. And so with all of that, and you're seeing that trillions of wealth, how do we get in there and capture our share, right? And so what's good for you all today is that you are here listening to this. Your competitors, so to speak, maybe are not. And so if you can get in this space and be talking to your donors and your stakeholders about how to give a little bit smarter and wiser, you will be edging out someone else. Okay, so it's very smart of you all to be here. Because what we want to do is look at planned giving and gifts of major assets. Okay. And again, so we're not talking about asking them for money from that discretionary income. What we've also found, I don't know if you've ever heard, oh, well, if I get someone to make a legacy gift, if someone says they've put me in their will, then they stop giving altogether. I don't know if any of you have thought of that or have heard that, but that is absolutely the exact opposite of what truly happens. And this is a study conducted by Dr. Russell James. Is anyone familiar with Dr. James? I see Lauren is. Dr. Russell James is the leading scholar in all things plan giving, and he's right here at Texas Tech, right down the street from me. But what he was finding over this study that he did is people that put you in their estate plans actually increase their annual giving by $3,000 per year on average. Okay, so if people are concerned about, well, I don't want to have we've all seen that donor pyramid, right? Where we've got the events and the annual giving, and then we move them up to major giving, and then we finally get them at planned gifts at the pinnacle. And it leads us to assume that once they give a planned gift, they tap out and they say, I'm done giving. It's not the case at all. And it has never been in the case with any of my donors that I've worked with. In fact, I echo the statistics that Dr. James is putting out, but then I also say that they become even more engaged because I think that they want to make sure that your organization is around when they finally do pass away. And it just gives them, they feel like you're a part of their family. That's kind of the way we look at it, is if they've included you in their estate plans, along with their children or other heirs, they're treating you like a family member. And so it's really important to continue stewarding that and inviting them to give. So if we look down here also with the 5-year nonprofit average growth in total donation revenue, if you stick with only going after cash gifts, if you're only inviting people to, donate to your annual fund or give a gift, a major gift of $10,000 or what have you, you're only going to grow about 11% annually. And that's good, right? But if you switch and start going after gifts of assets, any non-cash gift, and gifts of assets I include are gifts of IRAs, gifts of appreciated stock, gifts of property, your annual revenue growth can go to 50% annually. And then if you include securities and non-cash gifts, including real estate, that goes up to 60%. So you see that if we're only going after that 3%, we're really leaving so much money on the table. But you kind of have to switch your way of thinking. Okay, so in order to increase your future gifts, we do want to invite your donors to give through real estate. So we're talking about two different things here. First of all, we're talking about current gifts of assets, and then we're also talking about future estate planning gifts. And I know that was one of the things that Lauren wanted me to talk to you about today, was really how to look at the future gifts through their estate plans. So there's some different ways that we can invite them to do that. Okay, and so you'll want to be putting this information out. I don't know, does anybody have Crescendo or any of those? Who else is Stelter, or I don't know, PG Calc might have something, but basically putting this information out on a web platform or e-newsletters to invite people to give in these different ways. And so you'll want to invite them to give just a cash gift in their will or their trust, which can either be a flat amount or a percentage of their estate. So I want to give you $10,000, or I want to give you 5% of my estate residual. The other way you can do that is through a life insurance beneficiary. And this is the one I like the best because it's easy for your donors to change, and they don't have to go through an attorney. They don't have, it's very simple for them. And so this might be a good entry level area for you all to kind of pursue. Most employers these days, if they offer a benefit package, usually offer an insurance policy, a life insurance policy. And it might not be huge. It might be, 1 times their salary or what have you. But what you can do is invite your donors to include your organization as a life insurance beneficiary. What's nice about this, again, is it doesn't have anything to do with going through their actual estate. It's not going to be held in trust. It's not going to be, going through probate or anything like that, which is really nice. And they can put you down for a percentage or a flat amount of their life insurance policy. So one of the things I've seen some folks do is do like a campaign around a 3% club, where it's 3% of your either your estate or 3% of your life insurance. And then you invite folks to do 3% of their life insurance and give them a form and send that in. Now, life insurance for most folks isn't going to be, it might not be a permanent gift in this instance, unless they're, in their 60s or getting ready to retire, and it's a life insurance policy that they actually hold versus one that their employer holds. But it's a good way for you to get your foot kind of in the door with them, so that they can be thinking, and then they will hopefully re-up if they do change policies. So that's one easy way for them to include you in their estate plans. The other way is through their IRA. And so again, a lot of folks are going to have an IRA policy, and they can actually ask for their IRA to be a percentage of that to come directly to you, which is really great. Now, if we get into an advanced seminar or something, I would talk to you about IRAs being the best asset that anybody would own to gift as a charitable gift. That's really the best thing, because if their heirs inherit that, they're taxed on their income. If it bumps them up into a new income tax bracket or what have you, they're fully taxed on it. Whereas if they leave it to your organization, you bypass the taxes. So we say if people are interested in donating something, we invite them to do it through their IRA rather than their cash that they may have. So that's a really good way. And then it also kind of shows that you are looking out for them and their heirs, so that they should pass something that either stock or real property, which gives them a step up in basis, and not something that's going to be fully taxed. So that's a good way. And then they would just go through their IRA custodian to set that up. So again, it would bypass probate or anything like that, because it's a direct pay from that account to you. Another one that is good for people to donate as well is appreciated stocks. And so they can provide for that in their estate plans, that they want so much of their stock to come to you all. And the last thing is real property. And, we would get many pieces of property that they could put in their trust or will that you would be able to receive. And for organizations like you all, I know there's a land trust organization. I don't know if it's anything that you would want to keep, or if that would be an asset that you would want to sell, but those could be good for you as well. So does anybody have any questions about these different types of assets that people can leave? Yeah, we're good. Okay, great. All right. So if you all start this plan now, you could, in the next 5 to 10 years, start seeing your basically your annual income from these future gifts increase pretty significantly. So if you start it now, your bequest maturities could make up between 20 and 30% of your overall annual revenue. Retirement plans can then kick in another 10 to 20%. That's what those IRAs and things like that are for. And then also planned gift maturities that may include, stocks or anything outside of, regular cash or estate planning gifts. So your loyal donors will leave bequests, And within 5 to 12 years, they are going to substantially increase your annual fund totals. That's great, but you have to start now. And I get it that leadership might not be excited about putting money or putting resources into something that they're not going to see, but the sooner you get, they're not going to see right away, but the sooner you get started with this, it's absolutely going to be fruitful down the road. Has anyone here recently gotten a significant estate gift? No? Okay. I'll tell you, the estate gifts are generally the largest gifts that you will receive during the year. I'm working with a homeless coalition down in Miami, and they just received a $1 million, was from a trust. And this donor had stopped giving about 5 years ago when they moved out of state, but they had included them in their will because there was some work done previously. And so this was just kind of a gift that they weren't even aware that they were going to get. And these happen a lot once you start putting that information out there. So I would just say once you start advertising this, once you start kind of helping folks realize the different options that they have, you're going to see those gifts come in. Okay. And again, this is more information about your future annual budgets. Oh, I didn't mention donor advised funds, but those are also something that a lot of your donors might be doing now. And I can talk about those in just a few minutes. Okay, so we understand that this plan giving is important, right? But where do we start? How do we do this if we're a small shop? And so this is what I would recommend. In order to launch a plan giving program, and this is going to take about 12 months to get things going. The first thing you're going to need to do, if you don't already have one, is to develop a legacy society. And it can be really basic. It can be, I know somebody just said they had, who said they had one? It's the Red Fern or Red.
That was my group, the Red Oak Society.
The Red Oak Society. And how many folks are in your Red Oak Society?
I think in total we have 125, maybe 150, but I think living members are maybe around 60.
That's really good. That's really good. Congratulations. That's really good.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have a legacy society set up right now? No? Okay. So what I would recommend, it's just so that you have a category to put the donors in that you're going to get when you launch the program, really. So it could be, Legacy Society, the Heritage Society, something that resonates, I like the Red Oak Society, whatever, just so you have somewhere to categorize these donors if you're putting them into Razor's Edge or, whatever software you're using, and then they become an official member of that. So I would make a logo, determine the benefits. So for a Legacy Society, typically what we do is we will invite people to become founding members. We will determine what the benefits are, which could include, usually I like to have like an annual reception, which is pretty basic. It can be just a cocktail reception or a breakfast or something at one of the locations that, that you're working on or something like that, where you can celebrate the folks that have left something in their will or estate plans while they're still alive. And I was just doing a presentation a couple weeks back, and I really liked one of the bankers had used the term, we want to get a gift from a warm hand instead of a cold hand, right? And we want to thank someone with a warm hand instead of a cold hand. And so you might be getting these gifts at a later point, but you might not be aware of it. So we want to make sure that you are able to celebrate those folks while they're still alive. So you could have a legacy pin, like a lapel pin that they get invited to special things, they get put on your website, they have, you're listing them in your annual report, all of those kind of things in a specific area That's just for your legacy donors. And there's certainly plenty of samples and examples online, but I'm happy to help you with any of that as well. Then the other thing you want to do is just include an invitation to your stakeholders to give in their will or trust. And so in all of your publications that you're doing, I mean, is everybody doing like maybe an annual fund mailing letter or something like that? Okay, so in there, are you including a checkbox? I'd like to learn more about leaving your organization in my will or trust. Do you have that? Do you know what to do when somebody checks that box? That's the question, right? I used to have that box, and then I thought, oh boy, if somebody calls me, what am I going to do before I had all this figured out? So what we want to do is make sure that you do have information for them and a way for them to include something in their estate plans. I would put it on your signatures on your email. Remember, save our land in your estate plans, ask me how, all of those things, so that people start seeing that in your monthly newsletters. Make a display ad or something like that that says, join our Heritage Society, leave a gift in your will or trust, ask me how. Those are really simple, basic things so that people start seeing that. Because if you're not even asking, you're not in the game, right? And the difficulty that we know is that, if people are interested in donating to your organization is probably not the only one that they're giving to, right? They could be giving to the Red Cross or a hospital or a museum or who knows, but people that are involved in environmental groups, I find to be a lot more active in all aspects of their life and not just the environmental piece. And so they're getting asked from other organizations. So if you're not including that in yours, you're missing out, and they could leave a gift to someone else, right? So we at least want you to have a seat at the table when you're sending this information out. And then what you'll want to do is publish the names of the individuals in the society and welcome new members, and really make a pretty a big deal about having these folks, because again, they're treating you like a family member when they put you in their estate plans. And then I think also holding an annual reception and having somebody of importance from your organization come in, your board chair and your executive director, and really making that a special day and a special time for them to be able to come in and do that. Okay, so that's how I would launch it, is just starting to put these pieces out individually. And was anybody currently doing any of this? You people. Okay. All right, so that's going to give you a good starting point. Okay, and again, that doesn't cost that much to do, right? So language to include in your e-newsletters or your newsletters. Have you remembered save the land in your will or trust if you would like more information. And then also create a gift intention form for your donors to complete. And then let them know too that all gifts are irrevocable and can be changed at any time. And, unless they're doing, a remainder trust or something like that with you all, you can go ahead and change that. But what I will tell you, and Dr. James has specifics to back this up, that once you get put in someone's will, you are about 60% likely to get put all the way through. Okay, so if they put you in, and especially if they're older, right, you're more apt to stay in their will than not. So even though it's irrevocable and they might do 2 or 3 more iterations of their will, you will most likely stay in if you continue to steward them and continue to make sure that they feel special. I did talk to a donor that ended up taking one organization out of their will and changing it to a different one, because they said, as soon as I put them in my will, I never heard from them again. It's been 10 years. I've never heard a thing. And that's unfortunate. So we want to make sure that we continue to celebrate them and thank them all the time, because again, they can take you out at any point. Okay, so that was pretty down and dirty. And I do have, my company is Pleiades Nonprofit Advisors. if you would like forms like gift intention forms or those type of things, we're getting ready to put those on our website as a kind of free downloads. So if you're interested in any of that, you can certainly contact me and let me know that you'd like those. So I guess what I'd like to do now is just kind of open it up for questions, because I know I covered everything pretty quickly, and you might have some specifics about your specific organization that you you might want to get started with. So does anybody have any questions? Yes.
Hi, so you mentioned donor advised funds, and oftentimes there's a gatekeeper for the donor advised funds. Just as an example, everybody knows the Community Foundation of New Jersey here, and there's a lot of donor advised funds there. Just kind of some tips maybe as to how to get into those areas.
Well, if it's a true community foundation, really the only thing that the donor would need to show is that you're a qualified 501c3 charity, right? And then so it really, that you have to remember that the gifts are not necessarily coming from the community foundation. You want to have your donors be giving through those donor advised funds. So if the donor is saying, I want it to come to your particular organization, you shouldn't have an issue. Are you running into that?
No, what I'm trying to figure out is all of those folks that have their donor advised fund over at the Community Foundation, how do I get to them?
I see.
Around,
Okay.
I mean, you know, we personally do have a good relationship because the Community Foundation is in one of our buildings.
Okay.
But, you know, you just don't want to constantly go back to the person that you know and, you know, say, hey, you know, here's my question, spread it out to all those families or all those people who have the DAF.
Yeah, because they're not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you that right now, because one of my clients is a community foundation, and that's really not the way they work. So you really have to develop those individual relationships with the families that have the donor advised funds. And you need to have those relationships with them before they make those distributions, because the community foundations are not going to go to the folks that have the donor advised funds and say, these are the different things that you can give to. As much as we'd love for them to do that, that's usually not the way it goes. They wait for the family to send in a grant request with a specific organization that they're going to do. So I would recommend maybe reaching out to some of the family members that do have donor advised funds there and then inviting them to become engaged with your organization. But to expect for a community foundation to kind of, you know, champion your organization as a fund that they should distribute to, it's probably not going to happen that way.
Would you say the same thing for like estate attorneys? We, you know, on my organization, we have a pretty robust plan giving program, but I'd say that we're pretty tapped out in what I consider the more passive asks, the newsletters, the email signatures, and even one-on-one with donors that we think that it's the right time for that conversation. But one of the things some of my directors have been talking about is, you know, putting together like maybe like a junket to hand out to, I mean, that's not the right phrasing, but I wonder if you have the, you know, similar advice there.
Well, I do have, so one of the tools that I would use after you get this basic stuff set up, and it sounds like you're just a little bit further along. So this is 101, but 102, I would say, is engaging your stakeholders and inviting them to estate planning seminars. And that is really what got the diocese to do very well, because we would hold about 80 of those a year. Yeah, a lot. But we would partner with the local advisors. And that is like another piece to this, is if you have good estate planning attorneys and financial advisors, you can put together these estate seminars and invite your stakeholders to come. And then at that point, what's really nice is that they've self-identified that they do need a new estate plan or are looking to revise their estate plan. And then they're also looking to you as kind of, a partner in that, right? So when we would set these up, and I've done quite a few even just this year, we would do the seminars, and then the estate planning attorneys would contact the attendees, and we would, have information cards, and everybody could then reach out. And then between the attorneys and the financial advisors, they would go and contact the donors as well as our organization. So it was kind of a tag team effort. We would get they would get a free consultation, and generally we would do it back at the organization where they held the estate planning seminar, especially for, the people that are going to be coming to these are probably going to be 60 plus. And a lot of times we have 80-year-olds that come, and they don't want to try, especially, in driving around in New Jersey traffic, to figure out where their attorney's office is, or trying to park in, high-rise buildings and all of those kind of things. So the easier you can make it for them to come back and meet with the attorneys and the advisors, the better. And then it's again a waiting game. Most of the time it's about 12 months from when the person first goes to one of those seminars, and then they finally do their estate plans. Because what happens is, I don't know if any of you have recently done a will or your estate plans, but you need to do it. You get the information that you need, but then you have to go back and figure out who's going to be my successor trustee, who do I want to watch my kids, who do I want to do my advanced healthcare directive. So there's all these things that they need to put together before they can go meet with the attorney to put their estate plan together. And that takes a while, a lot of times. And then they go through a couple iterations of the plan. And so it's really not finished for a while. So you want to get these in motion as well, so that after a certain, 12, 24 months, you've got all of these in the pipeline and they're working. And then you start seeing that, because I ask my advisors then to let me know when someone has put something in their estate plan. Right. And so this is a whole nother presentation that we do of walking you through how to do these. But I'll tell you that they really do work, and they're pretty exciting. And after one that I did 2 weeks ago down in Miami, we had a gentleman that had he'd been giving about $10,000 a year to this homeless organization. And he came to our estate planning seminar, and he's a commercial real estate holder. I don't know how many buildings he owns. And then he also owns a restaurant chain, and he's single and no kids, right? Your dream donor for planned gifts, right? And he came to our seminar, and at the end he said, wow, I just realized that, I have all these IRAs, and I was going to leave them to my niece and nephew. But now, after hearing your presentation, I think I'd like to do a charitable trust, so that they can bypass some of the taxes that they would have to have over a 10-year period. And I would like to have that then go to Camilla's house. Well, how much is he? I have 3 IRAs. This one that I'm thinking about doing for you guys is $900,000. Okay. A $900,000 gift from that one seminar, because he came in and got the information, found out what assets are good to leave to his heirs, what assets are good to leave to charity. And so he'd been thinking about all of this, but this really helped him put it into what is the best avenue for me. So right now I'm running some proposals for him on doing that, a charitable remainder trust. And that just kind of goes to show, when you start, you're doing the soft sell right now, you're just introducing, and really that's what you need to do for the first 6 or so months, is kind of introduce people to the idea that you have this, right? And then you can do an estate planning seminar, then you can start doing some of these other things. But, you know, you can't just go out and say, okay, we're going to ask you for money in your will today. We'd like you to come, you know, we have to warm them up to the idea. And so this is kind of how we've seen it work and play out, and it works pretty well. Okay, other questions? All right.
Kimberly, that was a great presentation. I'm just wondering, Lauren, will you send the slides out like you usually do?
Are you open to that, Kimberly?
Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was terrific. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I do. So my partner and I, we like to do these seminars and things like this. And generally we do them for different cohorts. But if you all are interested, go on my e-newsletter, sign up, or shoot me an email and let me know, because we like to try and do these seminars for folks monthly about how to do estate planning seminars, how to engage your advisors, all those type of things. And we love being a resource for folks to get their program going, because once you get it going, it is super exciting. I will tell you, like we just started the one for Camilla's house down in Miami last August. And we're already getting their board. That's another thing, is to get your board engaged. And so one of the things I would recommend to you, if you have a strong board president, I have a letter that we sent out from the board president to her entire board, which was 60 people. It's crazy. Inviting them to become founding members, and your board is going to be your best bet in getting those first folks in the door and saying, look, you've been on the board for 20 years. Obviously, this means something to you. We would love for you to become a founding member of the Legacy Foundation. And that'll at least give you a good kickoff. But you have to start with your board. Any other questions? All right. Well, air defense artillery. I'm not sure what the question.
Sorry, I was looking on the wall behind you there.
Oh, you saw that. Okay. Yeah. I'm at my father-in-law's house right now in Texas. So he was with the artillery unit in the Army in Vietnam. He did 2 tours of Vietnam with artillery. So yes, that you're good. You know what that is. All right. Any other questions? Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I know we've just scratched the surface today. If you'd like to continue the conversation, let me know. I'm always happy to help you organizations get into this wonderful world of plan giving. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Terrific.
Bye,
Thank you so
Kimberly.
much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
We have a few minutes if you'd like to connect amongst our group, ask questions, do whatever you'd like. If you're just want to chat with fundraisers, feel free. We have about 10 minutes.
I don't have anything pressing, but I'm just going to share because I just got an email that we just got a sponsorship in at our top level for our gala. I'm very happy about that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's always a, kind of harrowing part of the gala is getting all the sponsorship in.
That's great.